Right, indeed. They released this report, which I'm going to be telling you more about it. But let me bring in one person who has led the agitation and advocacy for a credible election, a co-convener of the Civil Society Situation Room, our constitutional lawyer, Mr. Clement Nwankwo, is live for us here in Abuja today. It's a pleasure having you join us on the program tonight.
Thank you, Shaun.
Indeed, I was able to read, and I wish that we could put the barcode on television now so that our viewers can take a picture of the barcode and be able to download the soft copy of the credibility threshold. Basically, can you summarize for us in 2 paragraphs what this is?
Well, this would be available on the Situation Room website, certainly, and I'm sure that people would be able to go there and download it. But essentially what we're doing and what the Situation Room has done with this document is to produce thresholds, as we did in 2019 and 2023, thresholds, credibility thresholds that elections must meet to be credible.
Irreducible minimum standards.
It would be the irreducible minimum standards. And it's not, the standards are not set in the sky. They are set in a way that says, these are the things that you need to do. And it assigns everybody a responsibility, including all civil society. But most importantly, the election management body, INEC, the security agencies, the National Assembly, the political parties themselves as well. So really, it's to say, these are the standards that are universal. And if our elections are to be acceptable to Nigerians, but also internationally, and if a government that emerges from that election is to be legitimate and credible, elections must satisfy the following criteria. And we listed 10 criteria that would need to be met.
Before we, in fact, get into that, and from what I read in the report, it shows that you have promised Nigerians that you are going to monitor. It's going to be the indices upon which you are going to rate and judge the 2027 election, because you've set a standard and you have allotted roles and responsibilities to everyone: citizens, the government, the National Assembly, the election management body, and everyone basically who is supposed to be part of the election, even security agencies. Now, I would like for us to analyze and look at 2023 elections, because you set a threshold for the 2023 election. Did that election meet up with that threshold that you set or not?
The first threshold we set, like you rightly identified, was done in 2019 when I was the convener. And today the current convener, YZ Yao, was also reading for 2027. But we did set a threshold for 2019 for the 2019 general elections. And don't ask me why this is coming 2 years before 2027. It's really because the politicians have started the run far too early. So we think it's important to do this right now, just so that everybody is aware of what expectations are. But we thought that 2023 was a huge missed opportunity to bring Nigeria into credibility of democracy development.
So the 2023 election failed the threshold, the standards.
In 2019, we set 8 criteria. In 2019, we set 13 criteria. And the elections failed more than 8 of this.
In 2023.
In 2023. And the criteria, like I said, is not a lot. One is, of course, that you have to have the elections properly managed. You have to have reduced levels of violence. You have to have your logistical arrangements in place. You have to have credible resource management system. You have to have your technology up and running. You have to have engagement with civil society, with the public, with voters. You have to have inclusivity such that persons who are disadvantaged can be able to come out and vote publicly. You have to have good communications. Virtually all of this failed
in 2023.
In 2023,
and you are describing to me, for some of us who were around enough to cover those kind of elections, you're describing an election that looked like 2007, and that perhaps is in the Fourth Republic. There are those who will say that in fact is the worst election in our Fourth Republic, to the point that the president elected through that elections came out and said, the election that brought me into office is flawed.
In 2007, it was not a complete election. And I remember very well because I was observing the election in 2007. And I've observed elections in this country for decades. In 2007, and I have to say this all over again, there were only 12 states that had sent in their results. And the results for the entire country was announced. 2023 was so very bad in ways that compares with 2007 because of the several flaws. It was really bad in 2023, and that's why we have been very critical. And if you watch the trajectory of turnout for elections, in 2011, the percentage turnout was 54% in the 2011 elections, which was the election that took place right after the Uwais Committee report was turned in. In the 2015 elections, which was actually a very monumental election when you had the first transition of power from an incumbent to the opposition, the turnout was in 2015. But look at what happened in 2019. It was 35% turnout. And what tells you how bad it was that in 2023, the total amount or total number of persons that turned out for the elections was only 29%, unprecedentedly low.
And what perhaps the statistics that you have not given out is the margin of win. In all of this election, we had the lowest in 2023. 36% was what we got from the person who won the election. That was the lowest margin threshold that we've had since 1999. So, I mean, just talking about 29% of voter turnout out of 93 million people that voted in that election, of over 200 million people, and you discover that 33% of the voters who actually voted for the president who won the election.
It wasn't 93 million that voted. It was 93 million on the voters register.
On the voters register.
And then you had less than 27 million people vote. And what is instructive is that the winner, or the person declared as winner, had a vote lower than his top two challengers, which meant that the election, or the person that won the elections, could not be described as having won the majority of votes when you look at the total number of votes cast. Going beyond all of that, we have said as situation room, and as we've done in previous elections, we have to revive public trust. And public trust is centered around two things. One, the integrity of the elections, which means that the election management body and all the stakeholders are saying we want to do things right. And the other is competence, which means that even if they want to do things right, what is the competence level? So those are two things that we are concerned about right now. And we can't continue to have a deterioration, a decrease in the number of people who come out to vote, because it goes to the legitimacy of the government that emerges from that vote. And so the emphasis at this time, and the call on everyone who is a stakeholder, is let's all work together to ensure that elections in 2027 is credible.
In the report that you've released today, which I would recommend that all Nigerians should go and get it, and we need to master it so that we can all follow through. We still have 2 years to be able to ensure that we have the kind of elections. And you said that for us to, in that report, the criteria, the credibility threshold are set out to reverse the trend, some of which we've seen in the graph that we've shown here, either in voter turnout or in the trust in the capacity of the election management body. There are three pillars that you have set, one being that issue of integrity, delivery, and engagement. What do you make of this? How do you identify these three pillars?
I think that in terms of integrity, you have to look at all of the stakeholders and what role they have to play. Whether it's the election management body, the political parties, and you can see, you just finished an interview now of one of the political parties. The political parties, and this cuts across all, the political parties are in their own confusion, in their own dilemma, and there is no exception. So let no one think it's just one party or the other. There is no exception amongst all of the parties. The issue that runs through all of them is lack of internal democracy. Party primaries are conducted in ways that question the fairness, and integrity of the process. Party leadership is almost operating with impunity. Membership is isolated from the leadership of the party. So parties are very weak, and this cuts across all the parties, like I said. The issue of management of elections becomes really important. What is the mindset, and how are people appointed into the Electoral Commission? It is difficult for you to say that if somebody who's been appointed by an incumbent would be able to deliver in a way that is free and fair, unless that person has their own personal integrity. And it's a question, what are the nature of persons going to be appointed? As you know, there would be the opportunity for leadership change at the highest levels in INEC. Who and who would be appointed?
Before the end of the year.
Certainly.
So, and it behoves on the president to determine and push to the committee of...
It would be the INEC Committee on Electoral Matters.
Yeah.
And I think that if you do have the INEC Committee on Electoral Matters considering these issues, it has to be in a way that all Nigerians can see that they have done their work thoroughly.
We'll be wondering who the next INEC chairman will be, because I know that Professor Yakubu will be bowing out before the end of the year. So it will really give Nigerians an understanding of where we are going in 2027, whether we are ready for credible elections or not. But you heard, and I will want a lot of Nigerians to keep playing and reminding the National Assembly the commitment made today by Senator Simon Lalong, who is the Senate Chair on Electoral Matters in the Senate, who said that there will be a new law he said it. And I love a lot of people to keep posting it, to keep reminding the authorities and the establishment that there is a commitment that we will have a revived body of laws ahead of the 2027 election. But if there are three major areas for us to fix and review in our laws to help us achieve the dream of a 2027 credible elections, what would those be?
I had the privilege of being in the retreat of the Committee on Electoral Matters over the weekend, and I could see the debate and discussions amongst the members of the committee. It didn't seem to me that there was any partisanship in the conversations that we're having. I saw genuinely members of the committee discussing how to put in place a very good electoral law for the country. And a lot of the issues that are in conversation include some of the issues that election observers have raised over the time. One is, of course, to ensure that you do have technology properly instituted within the Electoral Act, that there is the accountability of election offenders, people who offend the elections.
Know that there is the deterrence and there is punishment.
There is punishment.
For anybody who is planning to rig. Because what politicians do best these days, Mr. Nwankwo, is the fact that they have mastered the art of subverting the law. Yes, we create a body of law to achieve a good election, but politicians will go and learn the best ways to subvert it.
I think it's enforcement, and I could see in the committee discussions a resolve to ensure that this is enforced. There are the conversations around the court process. Don't forget that part of the challenge of our election system, and CLAC did release a report quite recently that talked about ballots to the courts, a situation where the courts become very, very critical to determining how election results manifest. Is a major challenge for our elections. So it's a question how the courts are able to ensure that they remain faithful to their oath of office. Judges ensure that that is the case, and that election dispute resolution and the courts are seen as free and fair.
Are you hopeful about a possible credible elections? Because I could hear some people at home who are making jest of me when I said we want to ensure credible election in 2027.
I think that if we don't work towards it, then we would get what we...
So we must work hard.
We have to work towards it. And for me, I think it's not a question of giving up. Because if I say to you that I'm hopeful but do nothing, then nothing happens. If I say to you I've lost hope, then we don't do anything. I have seen the worst in terms of governance in this country. I have seen dictatorship. I have seen the brutality of or unconstitutional rule. And for me, nothing surpasses ensuring that our democracy survives. And that's what we have been working on all these years.
Well, congratulations on the launch of this report.
Thank you, Sean.
And I wish you and your colleagues well. My regards to them at the Situation Room. Thanks so much, Mr. Clement Nwankwo. It's good to see you again. Thank you so much.
Thank you.